All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Ram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, Srila Prabhupada, our translator, commentator, and dearmost spiritual master. Certainly we would be completely lost without him. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious to the heart is almost completely destroyed to nil. And thus, transcendental loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Cannot be taken back. Irrevocable. Are we fortunate or what? Wow. That's pretty amazing, huh? So continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, this is Canto 2, Chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version. Text 24. Sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ bibharmi tapasā viśvaṁ vibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ bibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ bibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ bibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ. Please chant. Sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ bibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ
sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ
sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ grasāmi tapasā punaḥ
bibharmi tapasā viśvam
bibharmi tapasā viśvam vīryam me duścaram tapaḥ sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ, grasāmi tapasā punaḥ, bibharmi tapasā viśvam, vīryam me duścaraṁ tapaḥ. sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ, grasāmi tapasā punaḥ, bibharmi tapasā viśvam, vīryam me duścaraṁ tapaḥ. sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ, grasāmi tapasā punaḥ, bibharmi tapasā viśvam, vīryam me duścaraṁ tapaḥ. sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ, vibharmi tapasā viśvam, vīryam me duścaraṁ tapaḥ. Anyone else like to try? Word for word. Sṛjāmi, I create. Tapasā, by the same energy of penance. Eva, certainly. Idam, this. Grasāmi tapasā, I do withdraw also by the same energy. Punaḥ, again. Bibharmi, do maintain. Tapasā, by penance. Viśvam, the cosmos. Vīryam, potency. My. Duścaraṁ, severe. Tapaḥ, penance. Translation. I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Please repeat. I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy. And I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. In executing penance, one must be determined to return home back to Godhead and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Even for material prosperity, name and fame, one has to undergo severe types of penance. Otherwise, no one can become an important figure in this material world. Why then are there severe types of penance for the perfection of devotional service? An easygoing life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, He wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. The order is received from the Lord either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master. And to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. Sṛjāmi tapasaivedaṁ, grasāmi tapasā punaḥ, bibharmi tapasā viśvam, vīryam me duścaraṁ tapaḥ. The Lord says, I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy. And I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Om Agyan Timanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Shtavitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupa Gadamayam Darati Shvapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Uttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Purishana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you everyone for attending Srimad Bhagavatam class. This hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is very important because our process of self-realization in this age, because of the degraded nature of this age, and because of the incredible mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding our very precarious position in this age, has given us a process which is so incredibly easy to do. Simply chanting the names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hearing His pastimes. And by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, such hearing and chanting is non-different from Him. Just imagine that mercy. What it took people in other ages, 10,000, 100,000 years to achieve, we can achieve in this lifetime, short lifetime, in less than 100 years. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So we should always remember these incredible blessings we have and apply ourselves to this very rigidly. As Prabhu says in the last sentence of this purport, one who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. So here, in these two verses specifically, I'll read the last verse also, because it also is talking about penance. Krishna says, O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. So Brahma, what does Bhagavad Gita say? Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata sarva bhutani samoham sargayanti parantapa. Icha dvesha samuten. We are all born into ignorance, bewildered by the modes of material nature. Not only us, but the creator of this universe, who is the most intelligent person in the universe. His body is made up of intelligence. Our body is made up of gross material elements, earth, water, fire, air. Not Lord Brahma. His body is so subtle, it's made up of intelligence. It says in a purport in Bhagavatam that Lord Brahma is so intelligent that his intelligence is almost like that of Lord Krishna. How intelligent is he? And yet, he's born in ignorance. Lord Brahma was born without any material mother. He was born directly out of the lotus flower emanating from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Right? Lord, there's a cloud is created in the Mahatattva. And within that cloud, Mahavishnu enters. And all the universes within the material cosmos emanate from the pores of his body. Within each one of those universes, Lord's assumes a gigantic form, as big as the whole universe, and wanting to lie down in the universe, he creates perspiration from his body. That creates the Garbhodak ocean. The Lord lays on that ocean. And a lotus stem comes from his navel, and a lotus flower comes up from that lotus stem, sprouts from the lotus stem, and on that lotus flower, Lord Brahma is born. So here's Lord Brahma, the most intelligent, first born living entity within this material world. He's born in the lotus flower, and he looks around, and it's all darkness everywhere. He has a great desire to create, because he's the creator of the whole universe, but he is bewildered. He has no idea how to do it, the means or anything. So he looks down, he sees a lotus stem, thinking, I'll just figure it out. I'll find the source of my existence. He climbs down the lotus stem. He's wading through the Garbhodak ocean. Pretty much aimlessly, all of a sudden he hears the sound, tapaḥ, tapaḥ. And because he is so intelligent, he immediately makes the connection. He understands, tapas, I have to undergo penance. He goes back to the lotus stem, he climbs up, he sits on the lotus flower seat, and he engages in penance, in meditation, for how many? I think it says 1,000 years of the demigods. Demigods in general, 1 month is one of our days is 6 months of the demigods. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, the demigods live a fantastic life, and Lord Brahma lives even a more incredible lifetime. And after engaging in that penance for so long, Lord Brahma became completely self-realized. He heard the flute of Krishna, and the ecstasy he experienced upon hearing the flute of Krishna was expressed as the Brahma Samhita. And Krishna was so pleased with the penance of Brahma. He came, and the Bhagavatam says he came and he shook hands with Brahma to congratulate him. So in this previous verse, Krishna says, O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance. So that sound, tapaḥ, that was Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma. To undergo penance when you are perplexed in your duty. Such penance is in my heart and soul. Therefore, penance and I are non-different. And then the verse today, I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. In the previous verse, in the Purport, Srila Prabhupada says that by engagement in devotional service, a devotee automatically becomes detached from the enjoying spirit. Just going to move this over here. Thank you. He says that this detachment is a result of perfect knowledge. This detachment is a result of perfect knowledge. Sorry, here. Therefore, the penance of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment. And that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency, Prabhu says. So that's why we undergo penance, is so we can achieve this transcendental potency of the Lord. And this is bestowed upon us beyond the capacity of our material mind and intelligence to understand it. We can get some sense, but we have to become infused with the transcendental senses of the Lord. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graim Indriyai Seva Mukhi Jivado Swayameva Sparayada. No one can understand the transcendental name and form of Krishna by our materially blunt senses. Only when those senses become saturated with continuous and unmotivated devotional service is that can one then understand when Krishna is pleased with us. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnane Yasya Vairagyam Jnanam Chaya Ahaitukam. It says in the second chapter of Bhagavatam that by rendering service under Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Immediately. So our devotion has to become unmotivated. Everything we do in devotional service is Krishna's trying to take us to that point of unmotivated devotional service. And how do we get there? It seems an impossible task. Every day I wake up in the morning and I begin chanting. It feels like, it's hopeless. It's really hopeless. But we have so many, so many things Krishna has given us, so many tools, chief among is the association of devotees, and so many instructions that if we simply follow them, then gradually we realize the Lord within those instructions. And even though we may not have the personal association of the spiritual master, by following those instructions we can realize his presence on a day-to-day basis. So Krishna says penance. He says everything is achieved by penance. Even in this world, people know that you don't get something for nothing. You have to work for it. So how did Krishna, how does he show by his example how to execute penance? Well, in his incarnation as Narayana Rishi up in the Himalayas, he engaged in strict austerities and penance. And we know that sometimes Indra becomes jealous of sages who are undergoing strict penance, and he tries to test them in certain ways. So Indra thought, here's a sage, a powerful sage, undergoing penance. Let me test him. So therefore Indra sent some dancing damsels from the heavenly planets, which we know from also ancient Vedic histories are irresistible, even to some of the greatest yogis. The example of Vishwamitra Muni, who had been meditating for tens of thousands of years and was very advanced in yoga. He was sent, I think it was Menaka, from the heavenly planets, and as he was meditating, heard the tingling of her bells. And the sound was so enchanting, he was forced to open his eyes. And when he saw the form, celestial form of Menaka, I think she may have been bouncing a ball or something and saw the form, her female form, his meditation broke, and he ended up engaging in sexual activity with her. And it wasn't until many, I think thousands of years after that, he realized only at that point what had happened and thought, oh my God, I've lost everything. I have to get back. And then he got back into meditation, and then he became the great saint, sages that we hear from Ramayan fame. And he was able to become so advanced that he was able to get personal association and actually be able to instruct the personality of Godhead, Lord Ram himself. So with Narayan Rishi, Indra thought, I'll just send some damsels to break, his meditation. Not realizing that Narayan Rishi is non-different from than the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And when the Supreme Lord in this incarnation saw all these dancing girls sent by King Indra, he was like, oh, you want dancing girls? I'll give you dancing girls. And so from his body emanated other celestial beauties, infinitely more attractive on all respects. Indra became, of course, completely bewildered and gradually realized the folly of his ways. And I believe, I was told the history is such that even Narayan Rishi says, I know you're attracted, Indra. You can choose any of them you want. And I think the one he chose was Menaka. She went back and to serve in the heavenly planets like that. So penance, why do we perform penance? We perform penance is performed for some result, just like Hiranyakashipu was performing an incredibly severe penance that no ordinary living entity could perform. And he becomes so advanced in his penance that he suspended all, not only eating, drinking, sleeping, and taking care of the material body. He suspended the process of breath, and he stood on the tip of his toes with his hands stretched out in the air for how long? Like thousands of years. And he became so powerful that the demigods in the heavenly planets were feeling scorched from the power of the fire of his austerities emanating from his head. But what was his desire? His desire was to simply become immortal, to challenge the supremacy of God. So he was tricked, and ultimately he was destroyed by the Creator himself. So we may ask, what is the topmost benediction one could achieve by performing penance? In the purport, in a purport, which I found, Srila Prabhupada says, the topmost benediction for those who are living in this material world and are subjected to the repetition of birth and death. What's the topmost benediction? He says the topmost benediction is association with pure devotees. Oh my gosh.
Where's that?
Huh?
Where is that?
I'll have to find the quote, where it is. I didn't write it down. So, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? That means we've all achieved the topmost benediction that one can achieve by having the association of so many pure devotees. So how to realize that benediction? Aha, that's the secret. Maybe we need to learn how to associate with pure devotees. And that's described and exemplified all throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. There's so many hints in devotional service if we're open to taking those hints. But we have to be open to them. And so what are other examples of, because, penance means we're undergoing difficulties to try to achieve a greater end. And Krishna always puts his devotees into different difficult situations. And so he always tests us, right? While we're undergoing penance, just to be able to undergo the penance, we're tested in so many ways, isn't it? Just like Bali Maharaj, he was tested by Vāmanadeva. Otherwise, how would we know that he's such a great devotee? He had conquered the entire universe. And then he was utterly humiliated by Lord Vāmanadeva. He conquered the entire universe. It's just inconceivable, the power it takes and the qualification it takes to be able to do that. And so here comes along a dwarf Brahmin asking Bali Maharaj for just 3 steps of land. Bali Maharaj says, 3 steps of land? Please, you're not going to be satisfied with 3 steps of land. I am in possession of the whole universe. I can give you 3 planets. I can give you whatever you want. Please, ask for something, which is, a little more significant of my opulence. And Vāmanadeva said, no, I'm just a simple Brahmin. All I need is 3 steps of land. If a person isn't satisfied with simple things in life, then, it's not good. So then Bali Maharaj agreed. And Vāmanadeva, what did he do? With his first step, he covered the entire universe. With his second step, he lifted up and broke through the universal covering, breaking through, and the Ganges River flows through, touched by the lotus toe of Lord Vāmanadeva. And then Vāmanadeva is like, you rascal. You said you were going to give me 3 steps of land. I've covered the entire universe with 2 steps. Where shall I put my 3rd step? Immediately, Garuda, arrest him. He's a rascal and a cheater. He promised. He broke his promise to a Brahmin. Immediately arrest him with the ropes of Varuna. So Bali Maharaj became arrested. You know that picture? Beautiful picture in Bali Maharaj. He's looking so dejected. It said he lost all his body luster, held by the ropes of Varuna. And Krishna, Vāmana, then said, Bali Maharaj, you were a cheater, and you've disobeyed the order of your spiritual master. Therefore, I order you to go down to the hellish planets. So Bali Maharaj was very determined. He was very determined. What was his determination? To completely surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He had won the whole universe. unbelievable opulence and power, surrendered everything in an instant to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How humiliating was this? He was a kshatriya, the greatest kshatriya of all time. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that, what does he say? He says, for one who is honored, dishonor is worse than death. How humiliated was Bali Maharaj still? He was so determined. And he thought, whatever Krishna gives him, that's all right. So he said, okay, Lord, with your third step, please put it on my head. And so what happened then? Yeah, Bali Maharaj went down to the hellish planets. He went down to Sutala. He was ruling the demons down there. What did Vamanadev do? He became his doorkeeper. Supreme Personality of Godhead, coming down to the hellish planets, becoming the doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. So great, Ravana, one of the biggest demons of all time, he came challenging everyone in the universe. He came to the kingdom of Bali Maharaj. He walks up to the palace. He sees there's some dwarf Brahmin guarding the palace. He's like, comes on with this huge form, 10 heads, just walks right past Vamanadev to go challenge Bali Maharaj. All of a sudden he feels some pain in his back. He looks up and he's being hurled through space, being kicked in the back by Vamanadev. He's like, you're not going even close to my Bali Maharaj. So we have to go through so many difficulties to achieve Krishna's mercy, because we have so many undesirable things in our heart. Why does the Lord put his devotees through so many difficulties? It's stated in the purport, the previous purport, that, or was it in this purport, that Krishna, in this purport, Prabhupada says Krishna is more clever than any living entity. He's more clever. We think we're clever. We're here trying to cheat Krishna. No. What does Krishna says? I am in 10th chapter, that Krishna is the ultimate cheater of all gamblers, like that. So Krishna wants to see how painstaking a devotee is in executing his service. And there's many stories of great kshatriyas. In Rajasthan, there's a story of a Rajput who went out to fight the battle, and he came back unable to defeat his enemy. He came back to the palace, and the fort was locked, and he was knocking on the door saying, open up, this is the king, open the door, I'm here. And the queen came and said, did you defeat your enemy? He said, no, I was outnumbered, I had to retreat. She said, who is this? He said, this is the king, your husband, open the door. She goes, you're not my husband, you must be an imposter. My husband would never return, having not defeated the enemy. You must be an imposter. She walked away. The king realized his mistake. He went back in the battle, lost the battle, died in the battle. Already the queen was doing and the other queens were doing the ceremony for the fire, to enter the fire, like that. This is Vedic civilization. This is such a great lesson to us. So we have to imbibe that spirit in our devotional service, because it's only by that kind of stark determination within impossible odds which we are facing in this life in Kali Yuga. But by the Lord's help, we can go we can get through that. What time is it? 10 till?
Question time.
Okay, hold on one sec. There's one other thing I wanted to. So, Krishna is very pleased with that person who takes on so many difficulties to please him, to please his spiritual master. And what happens if we're not willing to accept those difficulties? Then that means we'll be forced to take birth again and again. So I'll end with this quote from Queen Kunti. Vipada santu tasashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yat syat apunar bhava darshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So better we agree to accept difficulties in Krishna's service so that we can become purified and infused with Krishna's potency. And this is what will be able to allow us to be able to tolerate all difficulties which at this time, otherwise may seem intolerable. And this will qualify us to go back home, back to Godhead. That is penance. Penance gives us the potency to tolerate all difficulties. Hare Krishna, thank you for your kind attention. And any questions or comments? Yes, Aditi.
Thank you for the very nice class. This verse actually, I really like this verse because it confirmed one thing for me. Sometimes people say that, if you have a good house, you have a good appearance, you have a good family, you have a good relationship, or sometimes people say, oh, this person is just lucky. And this verse actually says that this is not like that. That it takes hard work to really build something, whether it's your personality, or whether it's your house, or whether it's a community, anything. So, and this verse confirms it. And also remember this verse from, I believe it's from Bhagavatam. It's about devotional service, that person who came already to devotional service, it means that he already performed all different austerities and he already undergone all different penances. So that's pretty powerful. And actually I have a question. In the purport it says that it's something different. That the order is received from the Lord, either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master. So how it can be understood? I thought that everything comes from the spiritual master.
Well, Krishna was directly Arjuna's spiritual master. So Prabhupada many times says that either one is in a position to get instruction directly from Krishna or from the spiritual master. But in a larger sense also, the spiritual master is Krishna. As we get instruction from the spiritual master, we're getting instruction from Krishna. In fact, Krishna is always instructing us within his heart, but we don't generally have the purified intelligence to be able to hear his instruction. But we also, we have our intuition, which is an intuitive sense of our spiritual nature, and we can intuit what Krishna's desire is, and then we get that confirmed always by the spiritual master or spiritual masters. I have many spiritual masters. We all have many spiritual masters. Srila Prabhupada is all of our spiritual master because he's a Shiksha Guru of everyone in Krishna consciousness for at least the next 10,000 years. But when we have, physical association with devotees and with advanced devotees, with our spiritual master, then that will and we execute that very enthusiastically, then Krishna becomes very, very, very pleased with that. And, you know, those austerity, you know, when you say a person is considered lucky because they have these things, but we don't know what kind of austerities that person performed in their previous lifetime. And like Prabhu says in the Purport here also, even in a mundane sense, to attain great things in the material world, it takes all kind of hard work and penance like that. So, but, you know, this penance for a spiritual objective, this is most important because from this process, you know, we should never, you know, bring our material understandings into Krishna consciousness. And we should understand that a devotee who is actually getting a devotional service, he may be not, you know, engaged in, you know, in particular activities that, you know, may be seen as constructive. But, you know, Krishna says that knowledge and detachment, by performing the devotional service, whatever service we have, Krishna will empower us to do that. And as we go on in devotional service, even though we have these material desires, gradually we will experience, if we're really sincere, and Krishna will always test us, that, you know, the level of our advancement is determined by how much we are free from this motivated devotional service, which you know, keeps us bound within the lower modes of passion and ignorance, and attached to lower, say, you know, fruits of devotional service. Jai Krishna Prabhu.
How would you differentiate
No,
penance?
no, you need to speak to the mic.
How would you differentiate penance from austerity?
Penance, well, they're very, very similar. I don't know exactly the difference. Austerities maybe, I don't know, are they both adjectives, or is one a noun and the other an adjective? Yeah, I mean, they're both so closely related. In some places where I was looking up, where Prabhu was talking about penance, he would use the term austerities in you know, as describing penance like that. So they're very closely related. Yes, Prabhu.
Actually, one thing is very clear. Rather than understanding the difference between penance and austerity, when we can see various examples, as Prabhuji was mentioning in the class, he was talking about viśvam money. So that is austerity. I mean, he was trying to do it for himself. Whereas penance is more of an instruction received from a spiritual master or to a senior Vaishnava. So when we perform that as an act, so that becomes more relying on a penance, where we are completely relying on the other person. You know, I'm simply doing it because this would be Srila, something in those lines, or this would please the higher authorities. So that is more of a penance. There is an austerity where he's trying to do just for himself, you know, just to please for himself.
Okay, so in relation to that, we could say that what Hiranyakashipu was doing couldn't be considered penance. Is that right?
Basically, Hiranyakashipu was doing it for himself. And he wants to become the supreme person.
Right.
He wants to, I mean, so there is no like Shastric evidence to it, so there is no any rules associated to it. He simply wants to do it for his pleasure. So that is, he's trying to fulfill his possible. He wants, because his brother was scared, he wants to be, you know, he wants to rule the entire world, he wants to take revenge, you know. And
So it's not considered penance then?
It's not considered penance.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, Mathura Prabhu?
Yes, very often in my reading of Srila Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita, and other books, he says that in the living entity comes to bhakti, sadhana bhakti, that it's declaring war on the illusory energy, you know, and so if we think about that, you know, it's so almost, it's daunting to think that how powerful she is, very, very, very powerful. So, I'm wondering how important is it for our association to keep us enthused and determined to perform penance, because our tendency is maybe to perhaps look for comfort zones, you know, and not really be really as serious as we could be, and then listen to the mind and say, oh no, it's okay, you don't have to do that. But like you're saying, it is very vital, crucial to achieve love of God, the love of Krishna. He says it's my very heart. So there's no getting around it, you know. It's not, and what's the result if we don't do it? Birth after birth, you know. Even as devotee, let's go. We have to keep going through it if we don't surrender to that penance, like you're describing. So, how is association important?
Yeah, I mean, association is essential. But it's our application of that association that allows us to reap the full benefit that we're looking for. So,
this is a really good point.
this is why we should always be looking for more advanced association, because those devotees have been able to apply their practice in such a way that they're reaping the full benefit, either in this life or in a previous life. And generally their whole mindset and everything is a result of the penance they've performed in a previous lifetime. But it's the application that really allows us to absorb that transcendental potency. It's the Lord's potency. We don't have the potency to be able to withstand all these things. We don't have the potency to fight with Maya. This is transcendental potency that's given as a gift when Krishna sees that we're undaunting in our determination to achieve the higher level of devotional service and start entering into a relationship with Krishna even in this in our conditioned state in the material world.
Thank you so much for that point. It's really clarifies that in association it's not the last point which you made. Association is not a question of physical proximity, but it's really what do we do with it, right? How we take it and the application. It's so crucial. It's illustrated well by Srila Prabhupada. He didn't have much association of his Guru Maharaj, physical.
Good point.
Right. So it's just so crucial. It's not even a matter of quantity. Quantity, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We all have this subtle body that we're dealing with. One thing is our body, but it's our psyche as well. And the huge advantage of associating with devotees, even if we can't figure out really how to apply, or we're so dull-headed. Just like I've explained before, but when Prabhu was on the planet, and I became temple temple commander at one point in Mayapur for about 4 months, and I got to go into Prabhupada's room anytime. And I'd just go in there and I'd sit in the corner like a fly on the wall. And Prabhu was meeting with, because he was very famous already now, that was 1976. People were coming all over India to meet him. So they come into his room in Mayapur, and they'd be talking to him in Bengali or Hindi. I didn't understand it all. But he would sit in the back, and I would watch Prabhupada and his movements and how he would respond to people. And it was just like we're watching pure poetry in motion. And it was just bewildering, the level of transcendence, even without having to, understanding what he was saying. It was so instructive, just watching him there. And this is what happened in the beginning, because Prabhu was not in this world. And when we were associating with Prabhupada, our mind is telling us we're associating with this other person, and he's very nice, he's very kind, he's compassionate, he's just like Prabhupada says how difficult, practically inconceivable it is for people to have a personal conception of God. And if people accept, well, God is a person, then they think, well, yeah, he's a person, maybe a little more powerful than I am. We can't conceive of this, of these things, So that's why, we need this association with. I always lament, that, for example, I think really we should have, I don't even know if he would, want it, but we should have like a room for Varshan Maharaj where he could, like an office where he could work out of here. Devotees could come to him in different times, get advice on different subjects. And when you hear a lecture from Maharaj, you realize the depth of his realization. And, we need that. And, all of us, when we hear a class of Maharaj, they think, how can we get more of this association? We have someone like that really advanced right here. But, how are we taking advantage of him,
There's something, you were saying that you have to look for association of advanced devotees, and something what Vaisheshika Prabhu says, this is, if you are the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yes, so we have to be always in association of more advanced people.
Oh, I see.
And we're always, this is a really important instruction. He's had his hand up for a long time. He's already spoken.
As my understanding is, devotional service is a matter of pleasure and fun, but here Prabhupada is writing that Krishna wants to see that how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. So how devotional service is a painstaking?
Yeah, well, Prabhupada said devotional service is simple for the simple-hearted. It's very simple. If we're able to take Krishna's instruction to heart, it's very simple, it's very joyful, there's no problem. But, how many among us are able to completely take that instruction and completely surrender to Krishna? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says the devotee's path is strewn with many thorns, So to get to that place of full surrender, it's not a mental construct, thinking that we have this idea of what joy means. We have no idea. Joy is already there. It's the nature of the soul. And as we experience our surrender to Krishna and our service attitude matures, then automatically we experience it. Sometimes devotees would be, a devotee asked Prabhupada, you look, are you sad? Is something bothering you? You look really sad. Prabhupada says, you cannot understand transcendental emotions of the spiritual master. It's bewildering to the mundane mind.
Just wait and you will realize what that means.
Actually, it is association is so important, especially in this age of Kali. We have been bombarded with so many things, so many materialistic things. Unless and until we have that strong association, it is very difficult, as you are mentioning about Varshan Maharaj. That kind of association is required. As Mataji was asking you, the verse which talks about pure devotee, it is Sushruya Shaddaranasa Vasudeva Katavati, Shamma Shayana, Punya Tirtha Nasevana. Just at least a moment of association with the pure devotee gives the greatest illumination. For that, we require Shraddha, that submissiveness, eager to hear from him. So, as we were mentioning about this, the penance. See, if the spiritual master is reiterating that we should do this, it requires a lot of submissiveness. Unless until that submission comes into the heart, we cannot follow the instruction, or we cannot understand what he is trying to say. If we have that word, he is doing the well-being of me, let me just follow him. Let me follow his instructions. So that's how we come closer to him.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful worship.
And a lot of things come up in that process also of being submissive, Like a person could ask, how was Bali Maharaj submissive? He was, fighting all of Krishna's devotees. He was fighting all the demigods, trying to conquer the universe. But, it was his dharma like that. And so Prabhupada says also, if you're going to be a demon, be the greatest. Try to be the greatest demon.
At the moment of his life, he gets that awareness whether I have to follow the instructions of spiritual master or have to go against of him. That's the biggest test in the life.
Yeah, true. So we can, I love to think how Prabhupada says that, the most, difficult place in our Krishna consciousness, it can actually become the pillar of our success, like the greatest weakness that we feel we have. We shouldn't discount that. Lord Chaitanya's mercy is to raise the most fallen to Krishna consciousness. So we have an impossible task, but we have a impossibly merciful master that makes everything possible. Is that it? Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.